With the new update to KSP version 23.5, we've got asteroids, and with them comes the opportunity or the challenge to capture one. But this is actually a pretty difficult thing to do, and if you don't follow all the right steps, you could end up, well, not getting your asteroid. So I have broken down the way I capture an asteroid into multiple discrete steps so that anyone can follow them and capture any asteroid that enters Kerbin's sphere of influence. And the first step is choosing your asteroid. And here we are in the tracking station, and we've got, it looks like, an asteroid to choose from. And it's a Class C. This one might be a good one. There are two things that you want to look for in an asteroid. And this one is already missing one of them. And one of the things is a low periapsis. Ideally, you want an intercept course, to be honest, so no periapsis. But anything under 10 million meters or 10 kilometers 10,000 kilometers is perfectly fine. The other thing you want is a long, far-off encounter. Even if this periapsis is low, this encounter is a little too early for my tastes. So I am going to not track this asteroid anymore, and we're going to wait for more to come. And of course you can speed up in the tracking station and wait for more asteroids to show up. And once you get better at this, you can try other asteroids. But for now, you want to stick with only ones that do those two things. Now, here we go. Here we got a good periapsis and a fantastic encounter. So this is our asteroid. FWS 150, you are going to get captured. So, now that we've picked our asteroid based on those two criteria, we're going to go to step 2 of the process. And step 2 is building your ship. Now, you can get crazy with your ship. You can go easy with your ship. I decided to go easy because all I'm doing here is rendezvousing with the asteroid. I'm not even in this video going to grab it. Once we get close enough to it that it's obvious that I can grab it, I'm going to end the video. Because all we care about here, all this tutorial is for, is to get to the asteroid. What your ship should have, this is a total stock game, but I built this using Kerbal Engineer as a guide. You want enough Delta V in your main ship to get out there and get the asteroid. Now, how much is that? Give or take, it's probably around 3 grand. But I like to have about 6 grand, just so we have extra. Because also, once you get to the asteroid, you obviously have to do things with it. So this guy is probably big enough to handle an A and a B. Or he could probably get any asteroid to crash into Kerbin. But an A and a B, this guy could actually probably get it into a decent orbit. For bigger asteroids and for more intricate maneuvers, you're obviously going to want more and more fuel. I've got 4 LVNs on here. A lot of people say anything more than 1 is useless. I disagree with them. It's also got monopropellant. It's got a monopropellant tank. It's got a claw, obviously. And it's got a brain and some solar panels. And lots of reaction wheels. The booster stage is very simple. It's just enough to get it into orbit. That's all it needs to do. So now, on to step 3. And that step is not quite launching yet. We're going to go to map mode before we launch. We're going to find our asteroid because we don't want to just launch. Here's our asteroid up here. It's the only one that has the whatever you call it, the orbit going through it. So we're going to set him as our target. And now, through the magic of conics, we're going to see what his orbit looks like. And it's a fairly equatorial orbit, but if you pay attention here, this is where it escapes. This is where he comes in. It's backwards and kind of south to north. So we are going to have to launch backwards because we don't want to launch into an orbit and then fix it later. That is wasteful of Delta V. We want to launch kind of this way from the launch pad, but we also want to do it at a very specific time, and that specific time is when we are on this line between, let me double click on Kerbin to get it as the center of our system here. we want to do it when we are sitting directly on this line, either on the night side or the day side. And because this is an automated probe, I would kind of like to do it on the day side so we don't run out of power, although we have a huge battery, so I don't think it matters that much. But, so we're going to fast forward time until we are right in between these two lines here. And then if you look, this is pretty much perfectly on the line here. Yeah, we want to launch this way because we're launching into the sun. We basically want to be launching down the coast here. And once we get high enough, we'll be able to see our ascending node and descending node in the map mode. This is one of the more technically challenging parts of this part of the mission, because you have to do everything kind of quickly and very well. So we're going to want to launch. Wow, I can't talk. We are going to want to launch, I'm going to say at about a 45-degree angle, at least to start. It is probably about 45, maybe a little bit more west. So I'm actually going to launch, down these numbers here, is the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to crank up my thing here. I'm going to not turn on the RCS, but I'm going to turn on the computers, and we are going to launch in 3, 2, 1, and we're off. Okay, we're going to want to go, I'm going to just tap it over this way. I'm not using ferrum or anything, but we're going to want to be between these two things on the nav ball when the time comes. You see we're already kind of heading that way. Obviously, the rotation of the planet is throwing us this way, so we're going to want to correct that as well as soon as possible. But more important than that is getting ourselves just going in the right direction, because the rest of it will fix itself when the time comes. But we've got to get out of the soupy lower atmosphere as we raise up here and get our speed going. These two side boosters aren't going to last too long on this thing here. Not a big deal. But as soon as we get up to about 5 grand or so, I'm going to tap it a little bit farther, and then we're going to just ride it up until we run out of fuel in the side boosters here. And then I'm going to go to map mode. Make sure I can stage these guys. And there we go. Okay. Now, we are here, and we're going to be going this direction eventually. We've got an Apoapsis of 12. And you see our ascending node is terrible, but it's getting better as we burn, which is good. That's what we want. Our goal is for our ascending node to be 0 when we're in orbit. Now, it's probably not going to happen. We also don't want to get too crazy, but I like to, when I'm at 20, be at about 45 on my thing here. And let's see, we're looking good, actually. We're at 18, 17. I'm going to actually switch from surface mode to orbit mode. Yeah, I think we're aiming in basically the right direction. 10 degrees to go. 8. 6. We're just pulling it towards us. It looks like these numbers are right about right. And I'm also watching my Apoapsis. This is very technically challenging, to be honest, because you wanna keep a good gravity turn, but you also want to make sure that you get the ascending node and descending node. I'm going to leave it at 3.2 because I don't want to screw around anymore. So I'm just going to ride this thing down until we are... actually, we could be down at the horizon by now. Once our Apoapsis gets to about, say, 85, I am going to stop the burn. And there we go. Okay. Now this guy, he's got a good battery on him, so he can make it through this night here while we're waiting. And even if he doesn't, he's got 4 solar panels on him just as backups, and then he's got the 4 big solar panels. But now that we're riding up here, I'm gonna fast forward time, get us out of the atmosphere. And now that we're not being slowed down anymore, I'm going to plan my burn at Apoapsis, which is going to, let's see, what are we at, 85? So I'm just going to get my Periapsis up to 85 as well, give or take. It doesn't have to be perfect. But it does have to be out of the atmosphere. So 83 by 87. If we go a little bit farther this way, it'll probably be better. 85 by 86. Okay, that's my plan. It's a mere 9-second burn. We still have a little bit of fuel left of this thing, and it'll probably... I don't know if we have 9 seconds worth of fuel, to be honest with you. But we'll try. So, and we're also out of the atmosphere, so I'm going to hit 1, because 1 is my solar panel button. Now he's bathing in the sunlight. So, I'm going to hit F5, because I am used to having a Kerbal alarm clock slow down the time for me, and I don't have it now, because I'm doing this in stock. So, we're speeding up time here. We'll go to about 5 seconds here, and then hit the gas. And looks like we're just going to run out of fuel. Not a big deal. And it will leave that thing to crash back down on Kerbin. It's almost as if I planned it this way. Okay, this should be good enough, but I'm going to be a stickler. I love being able to delete the maneuver node from here. Okay, let's check out our orbit here. Looks pretty good. We're at 3.2 on the ascending and descending nodes. Our Apoapsis is 86, and our Periapsis is 85. So there's step 3, is getting into an orbit that is very close to parallel with the incoming asteroid. So now we'll move on to step 4, which is get your Apoapsis out here. Now you don't want it out here. You don't want it where the circle is. You want it where the circle isn't. And that's really important. I can't tell you how important that is because it just is. But before we do that, actually, I'm going to do a correction burn here, because if we just send our Apoapsis out here, it's going to be way too high or low. I think it's going to be high. Let's use a maneuver node here. Yeah, that's making those lower. So let's drag this down. We want to get our nodes here as close to 0 as possible, which is basically there. Okay, and it's not a bad burn. It's 128 meters per second. This guy can handle that. Like I said, he's got about 6 grand on him, so these little maneuvers like this, even though it's not the most ideal way to do it, we got the bulk of the work done on the launch pad and rising through the atmosphere, where we were using that Delta V anyway. You know, it's not like we're going to be carrying the launcher into space. So, you know, the launcher got us almost to orbit. So we're doing pretty good. So, it's in 4 minutes. I'm going to hit F5 again because, like I said, I like to fast forward past windows, launch windows here. So, I'm going to fast forward down to about, say, 10 seconds. Oh, like I said, do this burn, and if it doesn't work out, get me at least within 0.1 degrees, I will restore for the maneuver node, or restore from quick save, and do it again. But we'll probably be fine. Okay, let's see what we got here. 0.0. Okay, that is perfect. Now we want to get our Apoapsis out there, so we want to basically eyeball it here. We want to put the maneuver node right around here. Doesn't matter that much because we can drag it around. And then we're going to send our Apoapsis out to the stratosphere. No, not the stratosphere. We're going to send it out to touch this. So obviously my eyeball didn't work very well. Oh wait, I want to slow down and drag him a little bit this way. And he's getting pretty close to the edge there. Whoop. Oh, and we've got an encounter with the moon, which is what's screwing me up. That's actually what the problem is. So, I'm going to wait in orbit. Oh, wait. I don't need to wait in orbit. I forgot we can do this. I love this part about the update. We can say, oh, there's a moon encounter? Well, we'll just do it on the next orbit. Oh, there's still a moon encounter? Oh, we'll just do it on the next orbit. Still a moon encounter? Oh, let's just do it on the next orbit. Maybe the next one after that. How about the one after that? One after that. There we go. That's what we want. And then now we can fiddle with our maneuver node at our leisure now that the moon isn't bugging us. So we still need to drag it to the right a little bit, just not as much as we thought. And we got another moon encounter. Well, let's go to the next orbit. Oh, you know what? When I drug it, that's an interesting problem. Challenge, if you will. Okay, but this here is very close to what we want. We want our Apoapsis up here, close to where this guy is going to be. And I'm going to leave it at that, just because I don't want to fiddle with it anymore. As long as you're close, you're good. The rest of it will fall into place. So now we have this orbit 3 hours, or we have this maneuver node 3 hours from now. So I'm going to hit quick save because you know I'm going to fast forward past it. And it's going to take a while to get to it because of the fact that I can only fast forward 50 times. So I will be back when I am there. Okay, and we're coming around here. We've got 30 minutes left in our orbit before we can burn. Oh, looks like I guess it's one more orbit away. Okay, but we are getting ready to burn here, so I did a quick save last orbit, so in case I screw this up, I don't have to fast forward again. If you had Kerbal Engineer installed, like I normally would, but again, I'm doing this in stock. If I had Kerbal Alarm Clock installed, I could have jumped to another ship and just fast forwarded time really quickly or something like that, and I would wholeheartedly recommend that to anyone. I don't expect you to do this in stock. I'm just doing it in stock so that no matter what mods you have a baseline of what to do. But we are a mere 5 minutes away from our burn. As we're coming around the corner, it's a 2-minute burn, so we're going to do it at about, what is that, 55 seconds, because it's a minute and 50 seconds. So I'm going to aim here at the maneuver node, and when we hit 55 seconds, I am going to hit the gas. And now. And I'm not going to make you watch this. I will be back when we have our Apoapsis out there. Okay, we've got about 15 seconds left on our burn. Our Apoapsis is climbing quickly. We want it to be 72. I have got my finger on the X to kill the burn the moment I need to. And here we go. And now. A little bit farther. Now. Okay. That's good enough. Now, he is set. Now, here's another thing we can do. Here's a trick. I'm going to add a maneuver here. We're just going to use this as a reference, so I don't need to hit it right at the time. If I go in on my orbit, see that pulls the Apoapsis over a little bit? As I zoom out here, which is going to get our Apoapsis even closer. So now that I have that marker somewhere on the nav ball, oops, over here, I guess, in on my orbit, I'm going to do that burn here. Now that I'm aimed in the correct direction, I'm just going to kill this maneuver node. And then I'm going to burn in on my orbit to get my Apoapsis right touching. Right there. You see that? Come on. Of course you can't see it. It's not. Okay. So we're a little bit below, but that's not a big deal. We can fix that later, or we don't even probably need to fix that later. But now, in 17 days, we're going to be out here. Well, but there's a problem. When we're out here in 17 days, the asteroid is going to be nowhere near, because the asteroid's still 177 days away. We got 10% of our time wasted. Well, that's where step, I think it's 5 now, comes into play, and that is burning out here at Apoapsis. So now I'm going to plan this burn here. We want to go right past our Apoapsis, just past it. And then that way, if you look here, let me move this maneuver node out of the way. We're going to... Tell you what, let me delete the maneuver node for a second. Okay. Let's put a maneuver node here. Now we can bring up this Apoapsis. Now notice, if I burn just a little bit, it's 54 days away. Now what do we want it to be? How many days away? Where's our thing here? We want it to be 177 days away. How much burning could you possibly have to do for that? Well... not a ton. Well, probably a little bit. 81. And it's also getting kind of crazy here, so we need to be closer to our Apoapsis here. "92 days away." Yeah, see, I actually made it too much. So, now is the fun part. We want to do this halfway. It's going to take 2 orbits is the thing. So, 177, and it's 17 days away, so it's actually 160 days. This is where the math comes in. So, 160 days from the point where we're at this Apoapsis the first time. So, we want to make it 80 days. Or less than 80 days, actually. So we can do 1 orbit and then do another orbit. So, 103 is too much. We actually want 97 days away. So we're going to bring this down. Let's bring it down to, say, 80. We'll give ourselves a really good margin. We'll do 84. That'll also let us fix any ascending and descending node problems that we might have. So there's that maneuver node. Now this maneuver node, the importance of this node, the purpose of this maneuver node is to waste time. Now that we have an Apoapsis where we want it, we want to waste time so that we're here when the asteroid is here. That's really important. So it's 18 days away. I'm going to hit F5. We might as well enjoy ourselves here. Let's go into free mode. And let's watch Kerbin drift away, or actually, let's watch ourselves drift away from Kerbin. Because what's the purpose of this game if not to enjoy the ballet of the planets as they dance around each other? Okay, I'm going to speed up time here. When we get to about a day, I'm going to... Whoa! That's what I was afraid of. I'm going to do this burn. It's not exactly what I wanted. What I really, really wanted. But I'm going to do it anyway. And stop. Okay, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be that close. Okay. And our descending node, now we're horrible again. So I'm going to fix that here. You have to every time you burn, you have to check your ascending and descending nodes, because you never know what's going to happen. And way out here, the good news is way out here, it's almost impossible to actually fix it because it's so low. So let's go around here. Whoa. Okay, and it is 5 hours away. So let's crank up time. Let's hit F5. Gonna crank up time until we are basically on it, because it's a tiny little burn. Okay, and now... I did it again. Okay, not a big deal, though. Okay, so let's do this burn. Now let's delete this maneuver node and see what our ascending node is. It's -1. So now, here's where RCS comes in handy. I'm going to hit R. And then I got N and H to go up and down while I look at them at the node here. Okay, that's making it worse, I think. Okay, there's 0. Let's go ahead and make it not a number if we can. Okay, it's close enough to not a number. Okay, now I'm going to turn RCS off. Okay, now we are working on this thing here. Down here, I'm going to want to do this again to get my ascending node back to exactly online. So let's go ahead and aim at that, wherever it may be. There it is. Whoa! This guy has some crazy... There we go. Okay, that's 29 days away. So we can really crank up time. And I did it again, but again, it doesn't really matter because this orbit's so big. Okay. We are 128 days from the encounter, and this ascending node and the Apoapsis is 31 days away. 128, 31. So now, when I drop a maneuver node here, Our new second Apoapsis is 95 days away, which is very close. Well, close-ish to 128. So 95 days away. Let's go ahead and get him up. And I love how the things overwrite each other. 103. What do I want it to be? I always forget. 128. Somebody remember that and tell me next time I ask. 128. Whoop. 121. I'm going to drag it back. 124. Whoa. 123. And also we're going to see here, you'll notice that I've got my thing here and then this is here. So we've actually gone too far. I need to bring it back down. Now we don't have to worry about our Apoapsis time anymore. We can actually do this based upon these things. And we're really close, and we're close enough that dragging the maneuver nodes isn't helping anymore. So I'm just going to aim at this maneuver node. Notice, this is a 4-second burn. That's the level we're at now. And we're kind of not doing steps anymore, I guess. But, oh well, what are you going to do? I had this whole thing planned in my head, and it never works out the way you plan. But this is all iterative, though. All of this stuff is happening for a reason. So it's 31 days away. I'm going to hit quick save so I don't lose my stuff. And we're going to go 29, let's see, 20, 10. Okay, we are 3 hours. That's another thing is with the new time system, it is so easy to go fast because you think you have 24 hours in a day, but you actually only have 6. So we're going to crank it down to... Whoa, I did it again. Okay. Once again, it doesn't matter if you're off by that much. Okay, we're going to kill the maneuver node here. We're just going to burn to get our connection point. Here's our connection. We're going to bring it down and boom, look at that. Here is our connection, and we are somewhere between 0 and 150 kilometers apart. The error in the thing is causing that much trouble. And there you go. From this point on, it's basically the same as encountering your space station, just with much longer times. So I'm gonna hit F5, and I'm gonna show you what we're doing here. We're gonna crank up time and let our ship go all the way around. We are at the maximum time warp. And our ship is just going around as Kerbin goes around the sun, as the asteroid slowly works its way down. And one important thing is we don't want to time warp too much as the asteroid gets closer. Because we all know what happens when you time warp. When you change sphere of influences, and the same thing will happen to an asteroid. So I'm going at 1,000 times. Actually, I'm going at 10,000 times. But I'm going to slow it down as we get really close here, because the last thing I want to do is this asteroid to jump somewhere. And actually, you know what? I think this is a good time to hit F5. I'm going to go at 100 times. I'm actually going to jump it up to 1,000 times as he gets closer and closer. And let's go down to 100 times. I'm just making sure. Once it gets even closer, I'm going to go down to 10 times. Right about now, or 50 times. Then 10 times. And then I'm even going to jump down to 5 times. And 1 time. And now he's in his Kerbin sphere of influence, and we still have our nice encounter. Now it's 20 kilometers apart. Or 200 and some odd kilometers apart. But way out here, that's what we call a good encounter. So now, we're pretending he's a space station. We're heading straight toward him, which is exactly what we want. 500 meters per second, which seems kind of high, but again, we're way out here in the middle of nowhere. What do you expect? So we're just gonna get ourselves closer to him, and then as we get closer, we're gonna wander off that. If you look at on my nav ball, we're wandering off the prograde here a little bit. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. Actually, I'm gonna target myself so that we're actually looking here. And here we are. There's the asteroid. And you notice we're not heading directly at it anymore. This is kind of the same thing that happens to space stations. And we're also going really fast. We're going 0.5 kilometer per second relative to the asteroid. But right now, my main concern is that we continue to head towards it, as opposed to not heading towards it. So now we're heading towards it again. So let's go back into map mode. Here's us. There's it. We're just gonna... And actually, if you look here, I probably... Yeah, see, our separation now is only 18 kilometers. I fixed that 200 and some odd kilometer separation between us by burning for a couple seconds. So now we're heading towards it. We're heading towards it. We're still heading towards it. I'm looking on the nav ball right here. Okay, and now, let's see, it's behind us somewhere, and sadly you can't see it very quickly. But I'm gonna get ourselves aimed at it again, and I think I'm gonna cut about 100 meters per second off of our relative velocities. Get us down to say 300 or 350, we'll say. Doesn't really matter that much. Okay. But now, we're going to let it get a little closer to us. And now we're going to burn again. Oh, we can see it now. So we don't need to go back into map mode anymore. He is 30 kilometers away. And we're traveling very fast. So I'm going to start slowing us down here. I'm burning off center again, like you would with a space station, to get us so that we're heading directly at it. I'm going to burn down so we're going about, say, 150. And then we're going to speed up time a little bit, let ourselves get closer to it. Okay, he's 4 kilometers away. Let's slow down to, say, 50 kilometers or meters per second, I should say, directly at him. There we go, and we're basically almost in the physics window here. And now, if he wasn't in the darkness, we would see him. we would actually see his shape. I don't remember what size this guy was. I didn't care what size he was because I don't plan on doing anything with him. I'm just rendezvousing with him. Oh, but we can see him now. And he is a mere 700 meters away. We're cruising in at about 200 meters per second. And you notice, if I had about 6,000 meters per second in my ship, I just used up maybe 200 of it. But there he is. There's our asteroid that we have successfully rendezvoused with. Now, just to reiterate, what we did was we picked an asteroid that was going to take a long time to get here, and was going to pass very close to Kerbin's Apoapsis on Kerbin, at least fairly close. Then we launched that in an orbit that got us very close to the asteroid's orbit. Then we corrected that orbit, and then we sent our Apoapsis out to touch where the asteroid was going to come into Kerbin's sphere of influence. We corrected our Apoapsis again, or our ascending and descending nodes again, so they were close to 0. Then, out at that Apoapsis, we burned to get ourselves an encounter with the asteroid at the exact time. You burn at that Apoapsis because you can control when the next Apoapsis is. Then, once we and the asteroid got together, We pretended it was a space station in orbit around Kerbin, and we just rendezvoused with it like you would anything else. I hope this worked out for you. I hope that you understood it. Please ask me questions if you didn't. I don't know if this is the most fuel-efficient way to do this. I don't think it's very fuel-inefficient, and it will guaranteed work every time if you follow the instructions. And most importantly, though, it's how I do it. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I, of course, enjoyed making it. I'm Fifth Horseman, and I will, as always, talk at you later.